The February stats for the Ottawa Real Estate Board have finally managed to make it to us. And I would suggest that the good news is for buyers right now, essentially. A little bit less so for sellers, but let's walk through this a little bit. So in the month of February, we had 809 unit sales. That's up from January, as one would expect. Seasonal fluctuations, a 31% increase. But from a February standpoint, that's a bit of a soft February. If we look at inventory, it continues to climb. So we've got 3,735 homes on the market at the end of February. So that translates into 4.6 months of standing inventory, which is a very balanced market. And prices are stable. They haven't really moved, which kind of contradicts Economics 101. Inventory has gone up, but prices have not gone down. So interesting. There's kind of a snapshot of what's happened in the month of February. The reason I say that it's a bit of a win for buyers is there's more choices and not an increase in price. Now, one last thing before I move on. There are almost 4,000 realtors in Ottawa. Think about that for a second. 1 in 5 received a paycheck in the month of February. If every agent that did receive a paycheck only received one, and we know some of us are greedy. So isn't that interesting? 1 in 5 got paid in the month of February. Moving on, here's what we have. I mentioned that, February is kind of soft relative to the average February, a 10% drop from last year. Last year was not a super strong year either. I would suggest that this is probably, the hesitation that's in the market a little bit because of what's going on to the south of us. Active listings have gone up quite dramatically, 61% increase in active listings. So what does that translate into? Last year, we had 2.6 months of standing inventory, which would have put us in a seller's market, essentially. This year, we have 4.6 months. You see how this is good for buyers? There's more choice. Prices are very stable. They're not really going crazy. So that's good news. Moving on, let's just kind of break it down a little bit, February over February. So we're having modest price increases across the board from a year ago. Now listen, interest rates are down fairly dramatically from a year ago, so the affordability has increased. So that's great news. And if you break down kind of where the months of inventory are, 4.9 on single family homes. The townhome market continues to be the one that's really, the center of the bell curve, lots of activity. That's really almost a seller's market. And then the condos, or as they're referred to by MLS, the apartments, they've tightened up. We were in the 7.5 months range. So this is good news for the condos. Getting a little bit tighter would be a suggestion that perhaps first-time home buyers are getting back in. So how do we summarize all this? Listen, the chaos to the south is absolutely having an impact on the market and will probably continue to. Our numbers in Ottawa look a lot stronger than some of our friends in Toronto and Vancouver, etc. So I wonder if there's a little bit of government insulation that is reflected in these numbers. So that story will continue to unfold, and none of us have a crystal ball on where that will go. But I would say there's two groups that are, really well served by the current conditions. If you're a first-time buyer, you've got this beautiful mix of low interest rates, good choices, inventory out there, and prices that are stable and not going up. And if you're an upgrade buyer, the same kind of thing applies. You can find that next house. There's more to choose from. Prices are stable. And truthfully, the prices are not as relevant if you're in the market, because the delta between what you own and what you're buying is kind of moving in unison. The person that might avoid getting out of the market is someone who's literally exiting the real estate market and has some choice. There's probably brighter days ahead for that individual, and hence why I said, the good news right now is for those that are buying. Let's see what March brings. I can tell you, boots on the ground, it's quite busy. We're into multiple offers. It's quite interesting to try and, interpret market reaction to some of the noise that we're all dealing with currently. Let's see what the numbers say at the end of the month.